Hi, this is Rebecca Sorallo from Guidehouse. Thank you for your time today to present the findings from our commercial fenestration market study. Most of our work you'll hear about today took place in 2020. Today we'll present the highlights from each section of our report, and I'll be joined by Ed Barber and Valerie Newby to share these findings with you.
In our project, we focused on commercial fenestration, but we did not include attachments as part of our analysis, nor did we look at interior glass or non-building glass. Commercial buildings that we looked at in our study included offices, healthcare, education, retail, hospitality, warehouses, institutional and assembly, as well as high-rise multifamily buildings. In 2020, estimates placed commercial floor space at over 92 billion square feet, but very little research on installed fenestration stock has been completed in the last 10 years. Our study covers 3 topics, including market and selection process, the installed stock and window sales estimates for the U.S., and energy code impacts and market trends. The purpose of our study is threefold. One is to gain insights and understanding of the commercial fenestration market and its intricacies. 2 is to gather data to support a follow-on project to be completed by Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory and the National Renewable Energy Laboratory to estimate national energy savings potential of commercial fenestration, and hopefully to demonstrate commercial market opportunities for energy efficient facade and windows. We used a combination of data sources, both existing secondary research as well as conducting our own primary research through our own survey. And with our survey, we interviewed a variety of stakeholders in the commercial fenestration industry, more than 50 of which included industry subject matter experts, code officials, utility program managers, manufacturers, and building architects and engineers.
Hi, Rebecca Sorallo here to next speak about the market players and processes section. Fenestration selection is a collaborative process, but also a convoluted one, where the final decision point is hard to trace and data on what is installed is difficult to obtain. An architect usually plays the final decision maker role based on recommendations from building engineers, contractors, and client requirements. However, contractors play a significant role in final product selection since architects often rely on their knowledge of different products and often to recommend cheaper alternatives to originally specified products. Facade consultants, though not listed here, we found are playing a greater role in this process by providing design architects, owners, and contractors with technical expertise on fenestration performance.
Hi, this is Valerie Newby, and I'm going to cover the results of our buildings data analysis, which estimated the U.S. commercial fenestration installed stock and sales. Also note that I will be covering only highlights of the results as we don't have time to go in depth into everything, but the full results are available in the report. I also want to call out that all the results shown here for stock and sales are in terms of number of buildings and not fenestration glass area. For background, our data analysis relied on building sample data from 6 key sources, including the implementation of a national building survey, aggregation of existing building data sources, and the gathering of fenestration market data. In total, this was over 16,000 buildings from across the nation, as you can see in the map, though in general, there was a lot more data in the Pacific region. This slide shows the installed stock results for fenestration glazing types. As you can see here, clear glazing still represents the largest proportion of the stock at about 51%. Here we are defining clear as non-tinted and non-reflective glass with high visible transmittance. In addition, low E glazing represents about 42% of the installed stock, with the majority being low solar gain selectivity. We also found low E glazing was very prevalent in buildings after 2000. In addition, tinted and reflected fenestration is becoming more prevalent in the newer installed stock over the last 10 years. The results for insulated glass fenestration shows that single pane glass still represents a significant portion of the stock at 41%. However, the portion of single pane glass has been decreasing over time in newer construction buildings. In addition, triple pane glazing has seen growth in the last decade, representing about 2% of the stock over the last 10 years. In addition, the majority of double and triple pane windows in the installed stock are air-filled at 58%, with about 41% being argon-filled. I also want to note that this was taken primarily from buildings in our survey from 2010 to 2020 because of lack of data from other sources. Now we're moving on to the fenestration sales results, and I wanted to call out that the results shown in this section represent an average of the fenestration sold from the years 2017 to 2020. Our calculations of national fenestration sales data utilize the same methodology that we outlined for the installed stock. However, the sales data relied on only 3 key data sources that included newly constructed buildings and newly retrofitted fenestration projects between 2017 and 2020. These sources were the Guidehouse Survey, NIA CBSA 2018, and the Efficiency Program data from Washington and Colorado. Combined, these sources represented a total of about 423 buildings. Because this data was limited, we also supplemented it with data provided directly from glass and fenestration manufacturers and data from the ALMA industry report to verify and adjust our findings as needed. As I will show, and as expected, we found that most commercial fenestration sold in the U.S. from the last 3 years were substantially higher performance and more efficient than the average commercial fenestration installed stock. The sales results for fenestration glazing types shown here shows that the clear, non-tinted and non-reflecting glazing still represents the majority of sales at about 50%. In addition, about 83% of fenestration sold had low E coating, which was primarily low solar gain technology. We also saw that dynamic glazing is an emerging technology, but still represents less than 1% of sales, and that's primarily electrochromic glazing. The sales results also showed that about 8% of sales are still single pane glass and about 92% are insulated glass, with about 4% of that being triple pane glazing. And this data came primarily from manufacturer reported data. The results also showed that argon gas fill is pretty common at about 48% of sales. Vacuum insulated glazing is also an emerging technology, but still represents a really negligible portion of the sales.
Hi, Rebecca Serralo again. I'm next going to speak about code compliance and enforcement impacts. Fenestration compliance is overall difficult to assess for many consistent reasons. We primarily used interviews for this part of our research, and a few clear themes quickly emerged. As already mentioned, regions with dedicated energy code staff typically see greater success. On the other hand, lack of time, education, and budget based on the jurisdiction were noted as significant obstacles. Therefore, fenestration code compliance often happens only at the plan review level due to these types of challenges. We also heard fenestration performance is frequently neglected on site and not often found as cause for delaying construction. However, one subject matter expert explained it this way, that the commercial building market is unique in that developers and architects are largely held accountable by contractual obligations and so will meet the owner's project requirements, including those for fenestration, to avoid a potential lawsuit. This generally places the onus on architects and contractors rather than code officials to ensure compliance. We also heard that NFRC certification is rarely asked for, especially for site-built windows. and we heard over and over that life, health, and safety are always prioritized first. Lastly, window performance specs vary from plans to the field. To compound that, we heard that performance modeling is often done incorrectly. Because fenestration is usually not selected at the permit stage, the fenestration performance values listed in the plans may be only estimates. Consequently, interviewees expressed that it is typical for fenestration performance values to be different in the plan drawings, performance models, and the field. So the exact performance values of what is ultimately installed is largely unknown. The last section that we will present today is on above-code fenestration programs. Through our interviews with incentive program administrators, we found some common themes regarding participation, marketability, and competition with other energy incentives. We found the majority are in the Pacific Northwest. Most focus on renovations rather than new construction. And we found many more whole building approach incentive programs relative to fenestration-specific prescriptive programs. The building types that most often participate are small mom and pops, small office buildings, some retail and restaurants, and a few hotels. Program sizes vary from 1 to 2 a year to 30 to 70 projects per year. Some programs highlighted successes in marketing directly to property managers with non-energy benefits like aesthetics, reduced sound, and increased comfort. Other programs worked with contractors and suppliers to market the program and increase participation. And a handful found success providing decision tools to building designers that include information about incentive offerings. Overall challenges to these programs are generally the low uptake of the programs and dealing with split incentive issues. Guidehouse's research revealed there is significant benefit to data collection and understanding the complex industry dynamics in the commercial buildings market, especially at regional or state levels. Additional research will support industry awareness of the benefits of high-efficiency commercial facade and fenestration systems and identify gaps in available information, processes, or resources to support industry players in making decisions. A deeper assessment into regional and state dynamics based on specific building characteristics and types in such a diverse buildings market is highly recommended as a next step for fenestration market research overall. Guidehouse recommends periodic updates to these analyses as new data sources become available, as well as the following areas of example research. More data collection to further investigate findings in this report, such as a deeper dive into the prevalence of certain scenarios like single pane or non-low E coding. Building energy code compliance and enforcement surveys, further surveys with on-site verification to understand compliance rates and specific data points to fenestration. Statistically significant building surveys on an ongoing basis. We found many state or regional building surveys that had been conducted over the last couple of decades, but were very small in nature. So expanding that, including on-site installed stock surveys, especially in regions that lack data to date. Also, as a follow-on to that, developing fenestration-related standardized questions for existing or future surveys, and also to incorporate into energy consumption benchmarking policies. Another area of research is impacts of state and local climate goals and opportunities for energy efficient fenestration. So looking at state and local examples where there are aggressive climate goals and policies and how fenestration energy efficiencies can be impactful. Understanding user awareness of fenestration technologies and benefits. Building owner surveys may be helpful to better understand fenestration retrofits and the level of customer awareness in different technologies and the different technology options, as well as common barriers to retrofits and opportunities for interventions to perform retrofits. This might also include better quantification of current retrofits installed in the market today, including films, storm windows, shading systems, reglazing, and recladding opportunities. Thank you for this opportunity to share this presentation and our results with you. Overall, we look forward to some next steps on this report, including hearing any industry feedback or other areas of recommended future research. We also look forward to a team made up of national laboratory experts using this data as an input to complete a national energy savings potential analysis. We look forward to NFRC and industry to continue to build on this vast amount of data collected and analyzed, and hopefully it will help to further adoption of energy efficient fenestration in such a complicated and competitive commercial market. Thank you again, and please feel free to reach out with any questions or with any feedback.